In a surprising move by GM Omar Khan, the Pittsburgh Steelers are declining Najee Harris's fifth-year option when most people expected that option to get picked up. It was less than $7 million. And for a running back that you drafted in the first round and the Steelers have said only nice things about, I think most people thought that Najee Harris's option would get picked up. I'll be talking about that first on today's edition of Steelers Talk. Then we're going to get into the latest on the Steelers wide receiver hunt on the trade market, the very latest coming from Bryant McFadden from CBS Sports. Then we'll get into a PFF article here from Pro Football Focus that has linked Stephon Gilmore, the cornerback, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a very interesting article that I'll break down later in today's show. Then also, could Beanie Bishop, the undrafted free agent, be the starting slot corner for your Pittsburgh Steelers week 1 of the 2024 season? There's definitely a decent chance at this point, and I'll be breaking that down. And then also, make sure you click that subscribe button because we got a loaded edition of Steelers news and rumors coming your way, so make sure you click that subscribe button and join our family of over 50,000 Yinzers here on YouTube. So today's top story, the Pittsburgh Steelers are declining running back Najee Harris's fifth-year option for 2025. So what that means is that he's going to be on the team this year, and then he's going to be an unrestricted free agent in the 2025 offseason, okay? So this is actually one of the one moves from Omar Khan this entire offseason that I disagree with. I thought that Najee is definitely somebody that was worth picking up that option. I mean, it was just under $7 million to bring him back, which, yeah, would have had him ranked in the top 11 of the NFL in terms of running backs and what they're getting paid, and it would have been fully guaranteed. So if he has a bad season, maybe you don't want to lock him into that. Maybe you want to go get somebody else. But at the end of the day, man, he hasn't been all that bad, especially because he's been running behind some really bad offensive lines, and he's been and then the offensive scheme has been seriously underwhelming, let's put it, from Matt Canada to this point in his career. And if he explodes and if he becomes, the true star running back that the Steelers thought they were getting in the first round a few years back, I mean, this is definitely somebody that you want on the roster, and it would have been a steal to have him for $7 million or about that on the roster next season. I think that the combination of the Thunder and Lightning with Najee and then Jaylen Warren as the number 2 back, I think that dynamic works here in Pittsburgh. It was really working for them towards the end of last season. It was a big reason why the Steelers were able to rally and make the NFL postseason. So now Najee, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do. I think that the Steelers are trying to keep their options open, and they're definitely trying to save as much money as they possibly can and have as much cash on hand as possible for the 2025 offseason. So let me know how you guys are feeling about this call from GM Omar Khan. Did Pittsburgh make the right decision on Najee Harris by declining his fifth-year option? Give me a yes or a no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time, but give me a yes or a no down there in the comments. So now, could a wide receiver trade be coming? CBS Sports is and former Steeler, by the way, Bryant McFadden, talked about the viral tweet that he put out last week saying that the Steelers were closing in on a quote-unquote significant playmaker, kind of backtracking a little bit here. This is what he had to say. The background of my tweet was I have a close friend who's tied to the NFL. He's been heavily involved in the different discussions. He's been hearing so many different things. He's one of the first people that told me about the Justin Fields trade well before it actually happened. That's the type of relationships he has in the National Football League. So, of course, my Steeler ties. He told me that it seems like something could happen sooner or later. My friend felt like it was about 75% chance of happening, but though negotiation things can literally fall through. How I worded my tweet, I apologize if people took it like it was going to instantly happen. I apologize if people felt like I was playing with their emotions. Like I said, it was a tweet from what I heard. It wasn't something that I wanted to create on my own, but I do believe that I think it should happen. Now, listen, I think what seems obvious here is whether or not a deal got done or whatever the case may be, or if a deal will get done. I do think the Steelers want to get something done here and bring in a legit number 2 wide receiver threat, because right now you can make the argument that Roman Wilson, a rookie out of Michigan, who I know the Steelers love and I love as well, I love that guy, but to trust him as your number 2 wide receiver option on a team that is trying to win championships right now isn't necessarily the best formula, and I think the Steelers would rather have him as a number 3 option, talking about Roman Wilson, and they'd like to get a Deebo Samuel. They'd like to get a DK Metcalf. They'd like to get a Cortland Sutton and pair him back up with Russell Wilson. I break down all of the top post-draft wide receiver targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers in a video that we did earlier this week on the channel. So I'll put the link to that in the comments and description of today's show. So now coming up here on Steelers Talk, I'm going to be talking about the latest rumors at cornerback. Stephon Gilmore is a name to definitely be watching out for here in the coming days for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But before we get into that, let's talk about our friend here, Justin Fields, newest Steelers quarterback and potentially punt and kickoff return man. You can't forget about that. Of course, that's a joke, folks. We got chatsports.com/Fields to get your number 2 Justin Fields jersey today. If you believe that Fields is the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers at the quarterback position, put your money where your mouth is right now by going to chatsports.com/Fields to get a great price from our friends at Fanatics today. So now first, let's talk about Beanie Bishop, because obviously the Steelers really like this guy. He's an undrafted free agent out of West Virginia. He was an All-American last year. Now, the testing numbers weren't fantastic for Beanie. He ran really well in the 40, but, in the short area of things and in the strength department, definitely not getting it done in that department. He is undersized, which is a big reason why he ended up going undrafted, but he was a very coveted undrafted free agent. And as somebody that's undersized, I think that you could potentially plug him into the slot. And you look at this production here last year, man. 4 interceptions and 20 pass breakups on his way to an All-American season. Okay, so you're getting an All-American here undrafted. That is something they just don't see very often, and we know here in this cornerback room right now, you need some depth, all right? Corey Trice Jr., we really don't know what we're going to get from him. Josiah Scott is also somebody in the slot you should be watching out for. Darius Rush is another option in there. I think Dante Jackson and Joey Porter Jr. are kind of locked in as your number 1 and number 2 options at corner. And Dante, maybe they move him to the slot because I think he has the player profile and the skill set to play in the slot if need be. But I definitely think the Steelers could afford to add another cornerback to the room. And if they can't, I think Beanie Bishop's somebody that, plays with very good instincts. Obviously, the ball production is fantastic. I think he could have a shot here to be maybe like the next Mike Hilton, for example, and play in the slot here for the Pittsburgh Steelers and do it pretty darn early. But if they want to go out and get somebody in free agency, I've been saying for quite a while, and I've been advocating for the Steelers to go out and get a guy like Stephon Gilmore, who is the best corner available in free agency, in my opinion. Pro Football Focus agrees, and they have linked the Steelers to Gilmore as the best fit right now after the NFL draft for the former All-Pro. This is what Gordon McGuinness from Pro Football Focus had to say. Gilmore will turn 34 at the start of the 2024 season, but he has performed well in 3 one-year stints with different teams since 2022. He earned a 69.3 PFF coverage grade in 2023, allowing 734 yards on 5 touchdowns from 622 snaps in coverage, while totaling 11 combined interceptions and pass breakups. And continues to say here, the Steelers played cover 1 on 25.8% of passing downs last season, with the Cowboys one of just the 5 teams to do so at a higher rate and still have a need at quarterback. So I completely agree with McGuinness here that Gilmore is a fantastic fit for what the Pittsburgh Steelers want to do. They want to play man. They want to play physical. Guess what? Gilmore did that with the Dallas Cowboys last year. And by the way, if you're going to say he's cooked, I mean, yeah, he got cooked a little bit in the playoff game against Green Bay against some of their really freak athletes, but he was able to really shut down A.J. Brown towards the end of last season, okay? So I really think Gilmore is still somebody that can play at a high level. I don't think he'd be like a Patrick Peterson if you were able to sign him. And even if he was, then you can usher in Corey Trice Jr. or somebody else and give them a shot as a starting option on the outside. But I think if you're a team that's trying to win now, you have a need at corner, as long as it doesn't cost too much, I think the Steelers should consider getting Stephon Gilmore, because I actually think that Dante Jackson could be a pretty decent slot cornerback. He's got really good speed, plays physically, he's got good short area quickness, and, he's always played outside, but he's always been a smaller outside cornerback, all right? So he's got good ball skills, good instincts. I think he could make that transition into the slot if you sign Stephon Gilmore, and I think with that threesome right there of Joey Porter Jr., Stephon Gilmore, and Dante Jackson in the slot, you'd have a pretty decent cornerback room to start the 2024 season. Now make the call for me down there in the comments section. Would you sign Stephon Gilmore? Barring that the contract is, relatively team-friendly here, type S if you would sign him, or type P if you're going to pass. So now before I go, I do have some little items here to discuss at the end of today's program. So let's start with what Jaylen Warren had to say on the Not Just Football podcast with Cam Hayward. Of course, he got interviewed, and he said that the QB leadership from Russell Wilson and Justin Fields has been night and day from Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitchell Trubisky in 2023. That's definitely good news. That's definitely something that I expected when the Steelers went out and got Russell Wilson this offseason. And then speaking of Fields, he also said that Danny Smith, the special teams coordinator, has kind of thrown out the idea of Fields being a kickoff return man. Now, listen, guys, this is probably just a joke. I don't think it's actually going to happen. It's like, hey, he's an athletic guy. Maybe we throw him back there, right? It's just kind of an offhand comment. I don't actually think Fields is going to be a candidate to be the kickoff return man here. So don't get your hopes up. You did get Cordero Patterson, and you paid him a pretty decent amount of money for a reason, and that reason is to be the kickoff return man here in Pittsburgh. So, if Cordero gets hurt, who knows what they're going to do here, but I really don't think Justin Fields is going to be the starting kickoff return man for the Steelers next year. Let me know what you guys think. Down there in the comments section, pick a return man, type CP for Cordero or JF for Justin Fields. Coop is chanting Fields. He wants to see that. And honestly, I would love to see it too. Do it in a preseason game or something, but maybe not in a regular season game. All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. I appreciate you. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more great Steelers content coming your way for free throughout this week.